All right, so today we're diving deep into the world of getting those really amazing professional quality photo prints.
Oh, yeah, the kind of prints you want for, like, a wedding album or something?
Exactly, exactly. The ones where you really want those memories to last forever.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game from just posting on Instagram.
Right. So we found this YouTube video from a photographer. I think he's based in India.
Yeah, I think Kerala was the place you mentioned.
Yes. Kerala, India. That's it. His name is Ajodhruva.
Hmm.
And he had some seriously good advice about getting amazing prints, like really, really good tips.
From someone who clearly knows what he's talking about.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the first things he said was printing for albums. It's a totally different level than just, printing a regular photo.
Totally different. Like, think about it. The level of detail, the color accuracy, all of that has to be perfect.
It has to be spot on. Cause those tiny imperfections that you might not even notice on your phone.
Yeah, you blow that up to a 16 by 20 print for an album, suddenly it's all you can see.
Oh, yeah. And he dropped some serious knowledge about printers. Like, I had no idea that some printers are just way better than others.
Oh, huge difference, especially when it comes to like the level of detail they can handle and the range of colors.
And he mentioned something about pigment inks.
Oh, yeah, he's totally right about that. Pigment-based inks are the gold standard, especially for album printing. Think of it like
Hmm.
the color is locked into the paper, so it lasts way, way longer,
Huh.
like decades. Those dye-based inks you find in a lot of home printers, more like watercolors.
Oh, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, they kind of just sit on the surface of the paper and they fade a lot faster.
So I got to ask, if I'm shopping around for a printing lab, how do I even know if they're using the good stuff?
Don't be shy about asking, like, what brands and models of printers do you use? And do you use pigment-based inks? A good lab will be happy to walk you through it all.
That's a good point. I feel like a lot of people might not even think to ask those questions. Okay, so get this. Ajo is a huge GE believer in doing a sample print before committing to a big project.
Oh, man, I can't tell you how many horror stories I've heard about people skipping that step.
Right. He even said, if you're doing a whole album, see if you can get a sample of the whole thing printed first, just to be safe.
It's like an insurance policy for your photos. It lets you
Yeah.
see how your photos will look with their printers and their paper.
Plus, if something is off, you can fix it before you order a whole batch of prints, and they're all wrong. Speaking of things being off,
Hmm.
he said something that blew my mind. Monitor calibration.
Ah, that's a big one.
I never even considered that before. What if my monitor is showing me the color is all wrong?
Yeah, and you're editing your photos to look perfect on your screen, but then they print out looking completely different.
It's wild. So what, all monitors display colors differently or something?
To a degree, yeah. And if your monitor isn't calibrated to a standard color space, it can really throw things off.
Right. Color space. What's that?
Think of it like a common language for colors. It's a standardized range of colors that a device like your monitor or printer can display.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So, my monitor needs to be speaking the same language as the printer, or else the colors could be messed up.
Precisely. And there is a whole science to monitor calibration, but trust me, it makes a huge difference in getting accurate prints.
Okay, that is definitely going on my to-do list. So it sounds like there's a lot more to this printing thing than I thought. I was kind of just thinking, take your photo, upload it, and you're done. But clearly there's a lot more to it.
If you want professional quality results, then yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
And he was really passionate about finding the right printing lab. He made it sound almost like finding a therapist or something.
He's not wrong, though. Finding a lab that really gets your style and that consistently delivers high-quality prints. It's like striking gold.
So it's not just about finding a place with fancy equipment. It's about finding people who care.
Yeah, people who are passionate about printing and who are willing to work with you to get the results you want.
He really emphasized building that relationship, so it's not just a transaction each time.
That makes a big difference. It's like you can trust them with your photos and you know they're going to handle them with care.
That's huge. Okay, so we've talked about printers, we've talked about monitor calibration, and we've talked about finding the right lab. Anything else we should know?
Well, there's a lot more to cover, but I think those are some great foundational things to keep in mind as we keep going.
Agreed. This is all really great advice. So what's next?
Well, he goes on to say that once you find that dream lab, stick with them. It's all about building that relationship.
Yeah, like finding a good mechanic or hairstylist. Once you find someone you trust, you stick with them.
Exactly. And he brings up this interesting point. He says that not everyone can just, immediately recognize good print quality.
Oh, really? I guess I kind of assumed that, like, a good print is a good print,
Yeah, I think it's because we're so used to seeing everything on screens now that we might be losing touch with those subtle details that make a physical print really special.
Interesting. Like, what kind of detail?
Well, think about it. The subtle variations in color, the tonal range, the crispness of the details.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Someone with a trained eye can spot those things right away.
But for the rest of us, it might take a little more practice.
Exactly. And that's why having those expert, what do you call them, print gurus,
Print gurus, yeah.
to guide us, help us see what we might be missing.
I like that. Like, they can point out things we wouldn't even notice on our own.
Right. And they can also advise on things like paper choice and finishing options. That can have a huge impact on the overall look and feel.
So it's like more than just pushing a button and getting a print. There's an art to it.
Definitely. And that's why he says, don't be afraid to spend a little extra time to get the quality you want.
Makes sense. If you're investing in printing these photos, you want to make sure they're done right.
Rushing the process is never a good idea.
Like anything worth doing, it takes time. Oh. He said something else that I thought was really cool. He was talking about how you shouldn't be afraid to get hands-on with the printing process. Experiment with different papers and inks and printing techniques.
Ooh, yeah.
It almost sounded like he was saying printing can be an art form in itself.
Totally. You become a creator, not just a consumer.
I like that. It's like taking it to the next level. Instead of just sending your photos off to a lab, you can actually be involved in the creative process.
And who knows, you might discover a whole new passion.
That would be awesome. And then he ended the video with like a call to action. He asked viewers to share their own tips for getting great prints.
I love that. It really shows that he's all about sharing knowledge and learning from each other.
Yeah, it's not just about him being the expert. He's inviting everyone to be part of the conversation.
Which is a great reminder for all of us, right? There's always something new to learn.
And sometimes the best tips come from the most unexpected places. Okay, so we've talked about a lot of really cool stuff in this deep dive. I feel like I've learned a ton already. What about you?
Definitely. And I think we've given our listeners a lot to think about, too.
For sure. So just to kind of recap everything, we talked about the importance of finding a printing lab that you trust. And we talked about how in this digital age, sometimes it's easy to forget just how special a really good print can be.
But hey, that's why we're here, to bring it back to those tangible, beautiful prints.
Right. And you know what? I feel like after this deep dive, I'm actually excited to go through my photos and find some hidden gems that deserve to be printed.
Me too. Like, I've got so many photos just sitting on my hard drive. It's time to give them some love.
Okay, so let's do a super quick recap of those key takeaways, just to make sure they're fresh in everyone's minds.
Sounds good. Repetition never hurts.
So, number one, print quality matters, especially for those super special photos you want to keep forever.
Absolutely. And number two, don't be shy about asking your printing lab about the specifics of their printers. You want those archival pigment-based inks.
Number three, sample prints, sample prints, sample prints. Can't stress that enough.
Amen to that. And number four, calibrate your monitor, folks. It makes a world of difference.
And last but not least, number five, find a printing lab you can trust. Someone who gets you and your style. Someone who feels like a partner, not just a vendor.
All right, now that we've got those key points down, I gotta ask, what photo project are you finally ready to tackle? You know, the one you've been putting off.
Maybe it's a photo book from that epic vacation you took, or a gallery wall for your living room, or even just like one amazing photo you want to blow up and frame.
Don't let those photos just sit on your computer. Let's get them out into the world.
Printing your photos isn't just about preserving memories, It's about creating something real, something tangible. And honestly, I think it's a really cool way to slow down and really appreciate the beauty you've captured.
I couldn't agree more. So go ahead, experiment. Try different papers, different sizes, different framing options. Make it your own.
That's all from us for this deep dive into the world of printing like a pro. We hope you found it helpful and inspiring, and we can't wait to see what amazing prints you all create.